What's up, everybody? How you doing? Welcome to the Spot Show podcast. This is, of course, an independent wrestling podcast with a few pit stops along the way. I, of course, am your host, Jim Minton Dickie Wabash, joined as always by my co-host, the one-legged wonder, Michael Madrox. And the pit stop that we have got today is one that I am so excited for. We saw an old vagrant on the side of the road holding out that thumb. And I looked at him and I thought, man, that looks a lot like Mad Man Pondo. And it was. So joining us here today on the Spot Show podcast, Mad Man Pondo is here. Pondo, man, thank you so much for being here.
When you figured out it was me, why did you not either swerve towards me or speed away in fear or anything other than that?
You know, because here's the thing. I think that if I did swerve at you and try to hit you, you can't fucking kill Pondo. You know, I would have been like, hey, he's going to fucking track us down and he's going to try to do something. You know what I mean?
He's going to ask for a stop sign.
But yeah,
That's
man,
right.
let's get the big plug out of the way here. And then we're going to mention it a few more times as we go on here. Pondo, you've got a new book out. For more information on that, you can go to visitdeadpark.com. So this is a pretty interesting book from the sound of it. It's basically your story of meeting different horror icons. That's a unique take on a book, man. So why don't you tell us a little bit about it?
So let's back up a minute. I wrote the first book. It was called Memoirs of a Madman.
Mm-hmm.
I put embarrassing stories. I put glorifying stories, everything in that book. And if you want to get a copy of the first book now, you can go to Amazon.com or, like you said, visit deadpark.com. John Cosper is the publisher. That's his webpage. He's the one selling the book. And then I was in Japan and I had a whole lot of downtime. And a friend of mine, Christina Harvey, she got her Facebook hacked. So she lost everything. She lost pictures of her dead husband, memories of wrestling, family memories. You know, them scammers, they don't give a shit about anybody. So I didn't want that. I thought to myself, if that happened to me, how bad that would suck. Because I don't know if you've been to my Facebook page, but I just got wrestling memories, Hollywood memories, all types of stuff on there. So I thought to myself, I've got all this dead time. And I wrote the second book. And it's, like you said, it's about me meeting all the horror movie icons, Freddy, Jason, Michael Myers, how I did it, where I did it, good experiences, bad experiences. But yeah, I wrote the book and sent everything over to John Cosper. He has it. He's I can't spell or my grammar is worth the shit. So he's editing the book. Sayazawa, who wrote the cover for the first book, is now drawing the cover for the second book. So that's going to rock. And I don't have a release date, but I have a release year. It will be out in 2026. So be on the lookout for that. But if you do want to get the first book ahead of time, again, that is visit deadpark.com or Amazon.com. And if you buy the book and you come to where I'm wrestling and I've got that signature crimson mask, I will take the ink off my forehead and give you the bloody thumbprint on the first page. And the reason I do that is I saw Jurassic Park, and someday when I passed away, if you want to make your own Mad Man Pondo, you'll have my DNA right there on the first page.
Ooh. I would expect nothing less from you, though, to sign it with a bloody thumbprint. You know, I would just be like, that is
that's our friend Nico signs all his books too.
Yeah, and that's, you know, there's a lot of these like autograph people. They'll be like, well, that's not a real autograph. You can't deny that one. You can't deny that one. You run a DNA test on that one. That's straight up Pondo right there, man. That's straight up Pondo. So I find it interesting that, like, I think what people would expect, and from the sounds of it, what they're going to be getting with this book, that's got to be like crazy. That's such a unique concept of like man, I've met all these people, I've had all these experiences. And then I think it's really heartwarming too that you've got it of like, man, let's put these memories down just in case I lose them. You know, that's a really cool concept.
Well, it's a concept I don't think anybody else has ever thought of, but I hope it's a concept that people will want to pay attention to and read, because if book number 2 is successful with all the horror icons, dude, I've met all the warriors. I've met all the characters from the Toxic Avenger. I've met, I met RoboCop. I met, so if part 2 does good, part 3 will be easy because I have a whole bunch of more people that I've met over my life.
I feel like,
musicians, comedians, wrestlers. That third book might be an almanac. I don't know.
I was going to say, I think you need to give yourself a little bit more credit here, because I mean, it's like you could probably write a library full of books just on the stuff that the people that you've met all along the way.
Well, I get my brains beat in every weekend. Memories aren't as coming to me as quick as they used to, but yeah, I probably could do a pretty good series of books.
So what's the one person that, and if there's more than one, go ahead, that people would probably be surprised to be like, oh, Pondo met them?
I would say probably, and you can go to YouTube and watch this, me and Marilyn Manson did a challenge where we put Vicks Vapor Rub in our tear ducts. I think people will be surprised about that. Surprise. I met MC Hammer. There's a whole story behind that.
Was that together?
I was going to say, these stories scream gathering. These stories scream gathering.
Well, not the Marilyn Manson one. The Marilyn Manson one, I was working for Billy Corgan, and him and Marilyn Manson had a concert. But anyway, you'll be able to read about it.
Oh, look at that. See, that's a worker right there. Being like, hey, I'm not going to give all my stories away. You got to buy the book. That's a worker, brother. I definitely respect it. See, so Madrox here is a huge horror fan. So I'm sure this book's on your list for sure, man.
Oh, absolutely, man. And Pondo, I got a hypothetical question for you that I think would be pretty good to boost the book. If you could book Mad Man Pondo against any horror icon, who would it be, why, and what would be the finish?
I would like it to be a 3-way with Jason and Michael Myers, because they're like the 3 that no matter what keep on going. Not that Leatherface doesn't keep on going, not that Freddy doesn't keep on going, but they're the 2 like husky ones that just can't stay down, and I consider myself the same way. So I think that'd be a pretty good 3-way, me versus Jason versus Michael Myers. Now, granted, I am my worst critic, and I would not be the finish. Like, I wouldn't be the winner. One of those 2 would be the winner. I'm not sure who, but
depends on the day and the territory, huh?
Yeah, it wouldn't be me.
It just depends on whatever the booker wants, right?
That's right, exactly.
So this is fascinating because I was doing a little bit of research before we hopped in here. I had no idea about your history with public access and how you made the connection with Jerry Springer and all of that. So I don't know, maybe we're getting into the weeds on that one, like getting pretty deep, but like as a producer myself, it's like, how did you get into that world with the public access shows and whatnot?
So we used to do these shows every Tuesday at a Kmart building. And there was this older gentleman who would come to every show. And I was, after the show, sitting out in the chairs, and he'd come over and he sat next to me and he was telling me, he loved this company and all this. And he was talking about how he wishes this wrestling would be put on public access because the wrestling show they have now is just garbage. And I told him right away, I'm like, no, the promoter of this one ain't giving nothing away for free. You won't see us on public access. Well, then he started talking to me about public access, and he said, I like watching things on public access, but my only problem is they can cuss and say whatever they want. And I was like, really? And then he said, yeah, and every once in a while, they'll have nudity on there. And I'm like, oh my God, I'm appalled. 2 weeks later, I had a show on there. So I called public access. They told me all the rules. Rule number 1 is you couldn't advertise on there, but you could have your own. You could have your web page or email address on there. Mm-hmm. Rule number 2, you couldn't have penis on there, which I wouldn't want to have penis on the show anyway. Rule number 3, no penetration. So
and this is just public. Wow,
access.
They just let you do whatever. Really was the Wild West.
Well, back then, I don't know if the rules have changed, but back then the FCAA, maybe anyway, Elemental P, whatever letters they was, it was illegal for them to go over your videotape before it was shown on public access. Can't figure that one. I have no clue. So I knew a whole bunch of strippers and girls that were good to go. So Skull Talk is me introducing wrestling matches with topless or naked chicks sitting on my lap.
And what year was this?
98, 99, something like that. Mm-hmm. Now, it was 50-50 good idea. 50% good idea that I had all these naked chicks all over me. 50% bad idea because what could take 15 minutes would take hours because, I need to redo my makeup. Hey, I need to smoke a cigarette. Oh my God, I'm so nervous. I need something to drink. Is one boob bigger than the other? Just all types of things. But so we did, I don't know how many episodes, and like I told you, they would let you put your email address on there. And I don't know if you guys remember this thing called web TV.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
So I had a web TV, and my email address was mmp /n/d/house, and then some numbers after it. I can't remember what it was, at webtv.com. And I got people writing me all the time like, damn it, would you shorten this email address? I'm tired of writing it. But so I would put that on every episode. And for some reason, public access put me in between 2 religious shows. A preacher at 7, my show at 8, another preacher at 9. And the 7 o'clock preacher, the 9 o'clock preacher, I never heard from him. The 7 o'clock preacher would write me hardcore about how I'm on my path to hell and just all this stuff. So it was an old grocery store. Public access was set up at an old grocery store. And you would walk in, and it was electric doors, but the electric didn't work. You'd have to push the doors. So I'm taking my videotape in, and he is bringing himself out of the building because you had to drop your videotapes off. And we locked eyes, and he didn't say one word to me in person. But by the time I got home, I was a dirty sinner that was on my path to hell. I saw you, he said. I saw you, and didn't say nothing to me, though. So for Skull Talk, I just kept pushing the limits. First I had boobs, then I had bush, then I had lips, and then the final draw, I had this girl using a dildo on herself while I was trying to introduce me versus the Sandman, and of course she's and going nuts.
That is incredible because Sandman, unironically, is one of my top 5 favorite wrestlers of all time. So to know that this happened before a Sandman match, that's very funny to me.
So she's moaning really, really loud, and I said, "Shut up, bitch!" And she just held it there and shut up. And then I said, "Here's Madman Pondo versus the Sandman." And I looked over and I'm like, "All right, go ahead." And then she started again, and Public Access said, "We told you no penetration." So
yeah,
they
that was my
canceled
yeah.
So they canceled my show. But a month and a half later, they called me and said, "Hey, is there any way you could start your show back up?" And I said, "Why? What's the change of heart?" And they said, people was buying public access, buying local cable to get public access just to watch your show.
Wow.
But by then, like I told you guys, I was just done with it because it was nice having all the naked girls on you, but such a headache all in the same breath of fresh air. So I was done with it.
How many years did you do it?
No, I don't know about years, but I probably had I do believe, if I remember right, 23 episodes.
Okay.
So they just replayed the same episode. I told them, go ahead. They just replayed the same episodes except for that one.
Do you still have the master tapes of these?
I have 2 master tapes, but the problem is they're on VCR. So I am really worried about putting them in a VCR because I don't want them to get chewed up.
Yeah.
And I don't have, so there's 2 places in Louisville, Kentucky that switch VCRs over to DVDs, but one of the rules of both those places is no nudity.
Yeah.
So I'm screwed there. Can't send them there. So someday I will figure that out.
That's crazy that because I feel like I'm of an age where public access was still kind of a thing, but it's really not anymore. It's completely gone now. But to think that the rules they gave you, it was wow, that you were able to get away with it even for either. So let's say you did one a week. So that's 23 weeks. That you lasted that long. And then they were clearly watching it. And then they saw you break a rule and they're like, no, wow, that's just a different world back then, man. Just a different world
today.
No, not at all.
If you think about it, that preacher, he had to be calling and bitching them out every week, so they knew what my show was, but they would send me reminders, hey, don't forget to get your videotape in. So
well, and then it also goes to show you they clearly, you were getting the popularity. So it's it's almost kind of stern in a way of where Howard would get in so much trouble for doing this stuff. But he was getting the ratings. And then it's man, once we lost Pondo, we didn't really know what to do. Madrox, what do you got?
About that whole thing?
Just in general.
I was just hoping that he had all the masters, we could release a DVD compilation of every episode.
So here's the thing: divorce after divorce, girlfriend after girlfriend, things go missing. You got to move out of a house, you got to move into another one. I have none of those masters, but I have the best of Madman Pondo Skull Talk volumes 1 and 2 that, like I said, are on videotape. But I'm so worried about getting a VCR. People have told me that they will pay me to set up a VCR at their parties and play these things and commentate during them. 2 different people told me that, but I'm so worried about buying a VCR from a Goodwill or where do you get VCRs anymore, and it just chewing those tapes up. So
I have 2 in my basement right now that are working. So so we may need to talk whenever we're off this. We may need to figure something out here, Pondo. But no, so then that gave you an in with the Jerry Springer show?
I don't know if I said that previously. I don't know why, but no. I mean,
Okay, well,
yes.
according to the Wikipedia on you, that's
Yeah. See, Wikipedia also says that I have 2 kids, 2 foreign kids, and I speak fluent Japanese, and I don't. Have no idea what Wikipedia is talking about. But a guy named Ace Craft, who wrestled as the Wicked Jester, we was traveling with the BloodyMidgets.com, and he went and did an episode of the Jerry Springer Show, and they said, "Hey, do you know any crazy people?" And right away he thought, well, yeah, I know Mad Man Pondo. So I went and did not 1 but 2 episodes of Jerry Springer. And then they asked me, they said, "Hey, do you have access to any crazy people?" And I'm like, "Well, yeah, I've been wrestling for blah, blah, blah years. I got plenty of crazy people." So I just started getting wrestlers, fans, friends, anybody I could on the Jerry Springer Show. And they started realizing that. So they started paying me for my guests. So I was making a pretty good check out of Jerry Springer Show, and a couple of the episodes have MMP Productions as a producer. But of course, you know, they're really fast. You would have to know that it was there. You know, the Jerry Springer credits, like they didn't mess around. They just get the episode done. So if you didn't know it was there, you would have never seen it. But that kind of made me a producer, if you think about it, for the Jerry Springer Show. And then that's when I was going to Japan, really good, and didn't really need the money all that much. And I don't know if oh so if they needed a guest at 4, 5, 6 in the morning, they expected you to get them that guest. Well, people are sleeping, you know. I mean, so after a while, I just got so annoyed. I said, nah, I don't really want to do this anymore. And then I lost my Japan gig, and I was like, "Hey, is there any way I could get that back?" And by then they had already moved on to other producers. But it was really good times with the Jerry Springer Show. Like I would see Jerry Springer in the hallway, and he would say, "Hey, Pongo, how's it going?" I never corrected him. It's Jerry Springer. Steve Wilco hated me. They would fly me in just to hang out with my guests, which means I was taking them to the House of Blues. I remember Quiet Riot was playing one time when we went to the House of Blues. I thought that was pretty cool. And at the Jerry Springer Show, it was always forbidden to go from green room to green room. But I'd been there so much, they didn't care. So I was going from green room to green room, and I got to meet Otis Rungus. I got to meet Butterbean, Ron Jeremy. You know, I mean, it was just a good time for me. And if you think about it, Jerry Springer was one of the craziest shows on TV, and I was a part of that. So that makes me even more crazy.
Yeah. Yeah, that definitely, like, that was like Springer was a cornerstone of like that 90s shock culture, you know. And then hell, it sounded like you were, you know, kind of doing your own thing with your show and whatnot, you know, like that it just all ties into that 90s shock culture, you know.
Well, a couple of them girls that's on Skull Talk, I found at Jerry Springer. Like I would watch the episodes, and they're Ty Weed out of I can't remember. She was doing some wrestling federation out of Philadelphia. A couple of the other girls who was showing their boobs on national TV, I would get a hold of after the episode and say, "Is there any way you'd help me out with this episode of blah blah blah?" And so yeah, man, like I remember Ty Weed and 2 girls that I found from the Jerry Springer Show to do an episode of Skull Talk.
How much of it, I feel like I already know the answer to this question. How much of Springer was a work? Like I feel like a lot of it was.
So that's why they would have you in different green rooms, because they didn't. So it would be rare to have a real story on there.
Yeah,
How's that?
Figured as much.
Let's just put that out there.
Yeah, because I'm not going to name names, but there were a couple people that were that I knew that they had like a love triangle thing going on, and a promoter I was working for at the time was like, "Hey, we should bring this to Springer," and I think two of them were down, but the third person was like, I really don't want to do this." But
Right.
yeah, Madrox, what do you got?
Our friends and television shows like that, brother.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
It actually reminds me of the first time I ever met you, Pondo. You probably don't remember this. This was a long time ago. This was probably 10, 12 years ago. We were working for a company. We had brought you in. And I bring this story up all the time because it's just one of my favorite backstage stories. But there was a tag match going on, and it was a disqualification finish where brother hit him with the chair, but he put his hand up and it hit him he thought he broke his forearm, whatever.
Yeah.
And they go storming through the locker room and they go in hot pursuit. And we think this whole big blow up's going to happen. And I remember walking, and there were a set of bleachers in the locker room. And there you are, just sitting there like this, just with a look on your face. And I just look at you and you go, "Brother, this isn't going to be shit. You know how many times a weekend I see this?"
That's right.
It's just that's my Pondo story. Is I just remember all this mayhem going on, like these brothers are about to shoot fight, and you're just like, they ain't gonna do a fucking thing. And guess what?
Right.
Didn't do a fucking thing.
What
You
town
talk
was
about-
it?
Terre Haute, Indiana.
New Wave Pro. Does that
New
ring a
Wave.
bell? Yeah, you wrestled a guy by the name of Kenny Taylor that night.
Yeah, I did the cinder block to his balls at New Wave.
Yeah, you did. And another funny thing about that is that they had just gotten these bleachers, and they were like, guys, they were telling everyone, they were like, no bumps on the bleachers, no bumps on the bleachers. So what's Pondo do? Pondo goes out there, lays the chair on Kenny Taylor on the bleachers, and does a forward roll on the bleachers. And it's like, that is fucking awesome. That is fucking awesome.
You're always going to be remembered wherever you go.
Yeah, but I just thought it was funny that it's like, guys, no bumps on the bleachers tonight, and then you go out there and do it. It's just like, I don't know if that full match is still online somewhere. But
They
I know there's
a lot of the old stuff.
Yeah, a lot of their old stuff is offline. But there is highlights of that. But I just remember my two things I remember from that night was the brother, they ain't gonna do shit, and then the forward roll on the bleachers.
Yeah.
Madrox, what do you got?
Pondo, I want to take you back to either 98 or 99, because this is the first time I ever saw or heard of you. I was walking into my local Walmart establishment, and there was a gentleman named the California Kid.
Oh, yeah. Scott Little.
He was playing as Billy Gunn's brother.
I mean, whatever.
And he sat there at the programs featuring Kane unmasked. So, little 9-year-old Michael Madrox had to see what Kane looked like without his mask. And inside the program was a whole 8x10 of Mad Man Pondo with a whole little write-up. And there you were, glorious greasy mullet, Superman t-shirt, pajama pants. And ever since that day, I was a big fan of yours, man. Do you have any stories you can share about that company, ICW, back in the day, or?
I remember California Kid, me and him did a match, and I think Centralia or Salem, and we put beer bottle glass or something in the ring, and he cut his elbow real deep, and his parents were just going nuts, just bitching him out. And he told him, he said, I didn't know that was going to happen. That was all Pondo. And I just took the blunt of it. It was like, yeah, it was all me. But no, it was all him. But, just to help him out with his family, I remember I was like, yeah, it was all me. Me and Scott just talked to each other, just reminiscing maybe a month ago on the telephone. So, yeah.
Is he still working?
No, he's a truck driver now. And before that, he was selling Harleys. But, in that company, to me, it seemed like me and him versus the rest of them, because they hated him because he was a handsome little fucker that was, getting all the girls, and they hated me because I was going to all these different companies. But we had a lot of good matches, me and him together, and a lot of good times outside of those matches. I'll even tell him later that you said something about him.
Yeah, it's also really funny because, and we didn't even realize this, but we were kind of, coordinating how this interview was going to go. And he mentioned this, and I used to manage a storage unit company, and that exact same magazine that he's talking about, I once found in a storage unit. And I remember the picture of Kane unmasked, and I do remember seeing this write up on you. And it was just weird how that all kind of lined up.
There you go.
Yeah. So this is a good little segue, I think, into, you mentioned that, it was beer bottle glass, got into his elbow or whatever. So then this is a good segue into what I want to talk about here. This is always something that I've been fascinated with, is the world of deathmatch wrestling, right? What is your opinion on this stigma of, these people are doing backyard wrestling just to, that's the easy way out. That's the easy way out. What do you got to say to people that think that?
Well, if you think about this, I've been doing death matches since 97, when they were unheard of, when people was like, oh my God, I can't believe these guys are mutilating their bodies and all that. But it didn't matter to me. I was passionate about this. I just kept on going. And here we are, 2026, and AEW focused a whole pay-per-view around a death match, the exploding barbed wire cage. Yeah, the finish went poof, but still, it was based around a death match. And then Britt Baker and Thunder Rosa did a death match. And then now Moxley is doing all types of terrible things to his body, and Hangman Page was drinking blood out of
Swerve Strickland.
Yeah. So over the year, and think about all the deathmatch based companies there are now. Back then it was hard to find a company to let you do it, but now there's CZW, there's GCW, there's ICW, there's Horror Slam, there's Big Japan. There's companies that are IWA Deep South. I'm booked for them coming up. Companies that are based on death matches, which back then there was two. There was IWA Mid South and there was Sandig's CZW. Any other place, you had to find a place that would let you do that kind of wrestling. And here's my take on it. So there are comedy wrestlers, fans of Chikara. There are lucha fans of CMLL and ALW. There are technical wrestling fans. There's strong style wrestling fan, all these kind of things. And you never hear deathmatch wrestlers hate on any of those companies, because if we don't like it, we don't watch it. But all those other companies hate on deathmatch wrestling. And my thing I'm trying to get at is, if you don't like it, don't want it. I mean, that's the easy part. I have been around all genres of wrestlers, but the nicest ones are the deathmatch wrestlers to me. So my take is, like I said, if you don't like it, don't watch it.
Yeah, someone that you and I, well, there's a couple people that you and I know in common. Dale Patrick's, people talk about him as like, Dale's a hell of a worker. And Dale is an incredibly nice guy, one of the nicest guys that I've ever shared a locker room with. And then I'll tell you someone else who I remember being there. I was there for his first match. I was there when he was still training. Akira is an incredibly nice guy. I remember him when he was training, like however many years ago that was. He may not remember me, but I remember sitting with him and just shooting the shit with him. And you saw a trend of like, Akira took the easy way out. And I never felt that way. I was like, hey, he found his niche and that's what works for him. And I think that that's a good way to look at what people label as deathmatch wrestlers. If you find a niche and it works for you, go for it. But then again, both of those guys, they don't need it. They can go work circles around a lot of these people, you know?
People say, oh, I'm sorry. Go ahead.
I was just going to say, a lot of the deathmatch guys are the most psychological progressed wrestlers in the world.
Yeah.
So people say that we went to death matches because we can't wrestle. Yeah. Well, that used to not be the case, but now there are a few out there who can't wrestle and went straight to death matches. I will admit it. I'm not going to say any names. I'm not here to bash anybody, but for the most part, you had to know how to fall. You had to know how to protect yourself. I mean, wrestlers became deathmatch wrestlers because we loved deathmatch wrestling. It didn't have anything to do with, I think if I do this, more people will respect me or get eyes on me. That's not the case. They hate us for more than that. But yeah, man, that's the way I look at it. Like, we had to start wrestling before we became deathmatch wrestlers. Mm-hmm. Not so much today, but it was back in the day.
Yeah. And you kind of, I line up with you on that so much. There are people that maybe they can't cut it as a catch as catch can worker. So then maybe they do view it as the easy way out or whatever, but it's not the case. You know, it's like there are, like, I'm going to continue to use Dale as an example. I've called a handful of Dale's matches on commentary, and it's some incredible matches, you know, and there wasn't a single gimmick to be seen in the match. It was just, let's go out there, let's work. And it is what it is.
And the work ethic of Dale Patrick's is so strong. Like, we were in Japan, and me and Necro were supposed to stay for the 9 months. Necro got hurt, had to be in the hospital a month. Whole nother story, and then he had to fly home. So Dale took the initiative. Dale's like, "All right, I'll stay." So he called his wife, told her what was going on. Wife was supported in the beginning, but started feeling it more towards the end. But yeah, man, it was Dale's work ethic that kept it going in Japan, kept Bakugaijin going.
Yeah, I like Dale a lot. He's just like, the last time I was in the locker room with him, it was at a company called Hybrid, and he is one of the, how do I put this delicately? One of the just zaniest, craziest people. Like there was a random, it was like a megaphone was in the locker room, and he walked over to it and he's just looking at it, and someone just goes, "Dale, don't be Dale right now." And then he's just walking around with the megaphone, and it's like, yeah, if you've never met him and this is your first instance with him, he's like that. He's like
Deathmatch Jackass. That's what he is. Deathmatch Jackass.
Yeah. But all right. Well, Pondo, we're going to continue this discussion here, but I just want to remind everyone that, of course, this is the Spot Show podcast. Each and every week we get together and we talk about the wacky world of independent wrestling and everything in between. Patreon.com/MadBash Studios. Everyone head over there. Keep the microphones on and the envelopes full. For Pondo here, go to visitdeadpark.com. Check out his first book and his upcoming book, which will be released very soon. I'm assuming some of you aren't over on the Patreon, so you are now going to hear a word from our sponsors. This episode is brought to you by Venom Energy. Hey, we've all been there, and there's nothing wrong with admitting to it. Well, what I mean is that we've all hit that midday slump, and we all need a little push to get us through the rest of the day. Well, what better option to give you a pick-me-up than one of the wonderful flavors of Venom Energy? Venom is what gets MadBash through those long show days, and we know that it can do the same for you. I'm going to sweeten the pot a little bit for you, too. Yeah, come to our merch table when you see us at a show, and with the purchase of a MadBash Wrestling sticker or magnet, you get a Venom Energy drink on us. While supplies last, of course, so you better act quick. We'd like to thank Venom again for sponsoring this episode. Please consume responsibly. Not recommended for children under 18, pregnant or nursing women, or people sensitive to caffeine. All right, Pondo, you touched on it a little bit before we went to the ad break there. And again, I think you're doing my job for me because you're giving me perfect segues into some other topics that we want to go ahead and jump to here. You talked about touring Japan. What was it? How different is it? Because I believe, and if the number is off here, please correct me, but on a recent episode of Lunacy, I believe they said that you've been over there 50 plus times.
49.
49.
Yeah, my next visit will be number 50.
Well, congratulations. That's a huge feat.
So if you think about that, how many independent wrestlers can say they've been to Japan 49 times on somebody else's dime? I think Loki, Steve Corino, and Chase Owens would be the three contenders, but at least I'm up there. I'm top 5.
I don't think anybody else comes close, do they?
I mean, back in the day, Bruiser Brody, Abdullah, Terry Funk, Stan Hansen. I don't know how many times them guys was going over there, but they wasn't having to stay the 3 months like some of us are. They was going over, getting flown home, going back, getting flown home.
Yeah, that's a dream of mine. I would love to go. I would love to go to Japan. What?
So this is what I tell everybody about Japan. Okay. You can go to McDonald's, and when you get to the front door, they're saying "Eshimashi," which means "let me wait on you." They smile while they take your order. They smile and run and go get it. They run it back. They put it on a tray, and when you sit down and you open your sandwich, it looks like the picture. Try that in America.
There you go. I guess so my question about this is that, so you're coming up on number 50. Take me back to number 1. What is the major difference? And granted, it's been probably 20, 30 years, over the course. I'm just kind of mathing real quick here. You've been there enough to see the evolution of how different it was. How different was trip number 1 to where you are now with trip 50?
So trip number 1, I got taken over there because of Abdullah the Butcher. And Abdullah the Butcher, of course, is a god in Japan. So he would take me to go eat with them. And it was always the mafia taking us to these things they call service bars, which is a bunch of hot Asian chicks pouring your drinks, calling you daddy, hanging on to you, but they ain't going to fuck you for nothing, especially Abdullah. So, so he would just fill these tables full of food. And that was for my first 3 visits. I didn't have to pay barely anything for food. Plus the paydays. There was a company called ADB Films. They were the ones sponsoring us over there. So we got per diem money every day, which I would use while I was there, and then take my pay home. It's way different now. The pay is way down. Japanese dollar is lower than ours. I don't have an Abdullah the Butcher to pay for my meals.
Have you become the Abdullah the Butcher?
I would never become the Abdullah the Butcher. He is okay. So if you got time, I'm gonna tell you this story.
Please.
We was at one of those service bars until 4 a.m. We closed it out.
Ooh.
Now, what Abdullah the Butcher, my job was, I was the guy carrying the T-shirt bags, which means he would bring his T-shirts to the service bars and had the mafia buy the T-shirts to give to the girls. Okay. We close this place out 4 o'clock in the morning. We walk out into the street and we can see our hotel from the opening of the service bar. Abdullah said, "Hey, chap, let's just walk to the hotel. Let's not get a taxi. Let's walk," which amazed me because Abdullah hates walking anywhere. So we are walking down this like town area, and there's a guy coming towards us wearing a leather jacket, smoking a cigarette, and we're walking towards him. And the reason I realize that is in America, if you see a guy at 4 a.m. with a leather jacket and a cigarette, probably problems are going to happen. But that's not the case in Japan. It's just a guy walking down the street. So he probably left a service bar also. He gets close enough to us and he looks over and he takes a cigarette out of his mouth and he says, "Butcher? Abdullah the Butcher?" And Abdullah's just trying to shake the guy's hand. He's like, "Yes, yes." He walks over to the guy. This dude starts screaming out in the middle of this neighborhood, "Abdullah the Butcher! Abdullah the..." And I'm thinking, holy shit, this guy's going to get us, hey, calm down, the cops are going to come or something. So lights start coming on. People want to see what's going on outside. This guy is like throwing a fit, like yelling. People see the Abdullah the Butchers in the streets. People in their pajamas and sandals are coming out at 4 in the fucking morning to meet Abdullah the Butcher. Abdullah the Butcher sees this little band of people, says, "Champ, get my T-shirts out." So I get out one of his T-shirts. People are running back inside their house, coming out with money to buy an Abdullah the Butcher T-shirt. I have no exaggeration to the story whatsoever. I'm as amazed as you guys are, and I was there.
So that's why he wanted to walk. He knew that he could.
No.
Oh,
he had no clue. He had no clue. Yeah, for some reason, he just thought, "Let's walk to the hotel." But this one guy with this leather jacket helped T-shirt sales that night. 4 o'clock in the morning when a man is selling merch to people who get woke up, you're a god in Japan.
Yeah.
We need to try that tactic with the new Wrestling Is My Side Chick shirts, Dickie.
Oh, yeah. Plug to the Wrestling Is My Side Chick shirt, now available.
We'll take an extra large, fellas. I'll give you my address afterwards. I don't know if
send you one.
I used to be 332 pounds, and today I'm 196 pounds.
Yeah, truly, Pondo, though, if you want one of these side chick shirts, we will absolutely send you one for sure.
We'll absolutely give you my address as soon as we get off this thing.
Hell yeah, that's awesome. But no, so it's funny that you share that story because so I have a friend, his name is Zach Abstract. He just got back he was over there for like a couple of weeks or whatever. And he tells the story of he got dropped off and he's just kind of looking around like, I'm just going to walk to my hotel. And then he was talking about how just safe it was. Like if that was America, he said that he probably would have been more afraid. But so it's good to hear a story from multiple sources of just how simple it is to just how much more welcoming and inviting that it is over there.
And the thing about it is, it's okay. So back in the day, they didn't have English train maps, English on concession food, nothing. But now they do. But if you get lost in Japan, I have found that the Japanese people are so helpful to help you find where you're going, or if you're looking for a building. I have had, I've been in a convenience store and like my change has been 6 cents and I left it and I left the building. I have had employees chase me down to hand me this 6 cents.
Wow.
Just it's so much different there. And I had a fiance there for 9 months. I lost her, heartbroken, trust me. But I was moving to Japan. I was, it was just so much different there. I would still move to Japan. I just don't have the funds to do it.
Yeah. Yeah. And that's I've already said it, but congratulations on 50 tours. I mean, that is absolutely crazy. How long is this next one going to be?
I don't even know when the next one is. Like I left early. I was there 9 months, but I left early, gave them their title back, and made sure everything was cool. Everybody said everything was cool, but I pissed them off when I left, and I don't know. I'm hoping things get resolved, and I make that 50th trip. But yeah.
Well, here's to it. I hope that it can happen for you.
I hope so. Yeah.
Yeah. So to bring it back stateside here, I would be remiss if I did not talk to you about what I think is one of the most entertaining wrestling properties that I have ever seen. I wish that it would come back. $5 wrestling is one, and the laugh. I knew right away that I was going to get a chuckle. Tell me about that, man. How did you get? I mean, when I when I saw one of their shows and I see you standing there as the ring announcer, and I'm like, so that's what this is going to be. And I say that with all the love in the world, but it was, man. Talk to me about $5 wrestling, man. What's the stories?
So Jake Manning did something called the
Heroes of Burke County. I'm very familiar with that documentary. Yes.
And I must have watched that thing 50 times in a row.
Yeah. Real quick, to get a quick little self plug in here for you. I actually made a documentary that is very influenced by the Heroes of Burke County, and we will have to send you a link to that, because if you like Heroes of Burke County, you'll like my doc that I made.
I loved it so much, and I had been on shows with Jake Manning, and he would look my way, he would stare my way, but never would really talk to me. So I didn't know what to think about the guy, But then once I watched the Heroes of Burke County, we was working for a guy together, Gary Dameron, ASW out of West Virginia. And so I went over to Jake Manning, and I said, hey, I really loved that documentary. I can't tell you how many times I watched it. And we got to talking, and finally Jake told me, he's like, hey, I just want you to know that I'm a big fan of yours. I was like, you're a fan of mine? And I'm like, is that why you've been staring but not talking? He's like, yeah, I didn't really want to bother you. And I'm like, no, man, fucking bother me all you want. So anyway, I told him about this company in Cleveland, Ohio. And he's like, all right, let's do it. So, well, before that, he had he would, it wasn't, he didn't have his own company yet, but he would go to other companies and film matches. And he interviewed the $5 Top Star Freight Train.
Oh,
loved it.
Smooth belly. Love it.
So anyway, we went to Cleveland. He flew to Cleveland. I drove to Cleveland. And the very first match, the guy jumped up on the bottom rope, and the bottom rope broke. And Jake, with a video camera, saw me on the bleachers and looked at me like it was Christmas morning. Like, holy shit, this is what I've been, So then I live in the Louisville area, and we had many, many $5 wrestling caliber wrestlers in our area.
Yes, we all know the term that we like to call it is shindy wrestling. All know.
I know, but shindy because so I'll explain why that here in a minute. Okay. So anyway, so I told Jake, I said, let me get a bunch of mine together. You get a bunch of yours together, and let's start $5 wrestling out of Charlestown, Indiana.
Yep.
So that's what we did. He would load up a van, which he hated that van trip, trust me. And then I would get my band of wrestlers together, and we would mash them together. My band, we had Jimmy the Snake, we had the Portland Phantom, we had I mean, anyway. So this is what I'm trying to explain to you. People would hate on me and Jake for putting $5 wrestling together, but what they didn't realize was that was these guys' WrestleMania.
Yeah. That's the thing that I always pointed out about it.
They loved every minute of it. To this day, they still contact me and say, "Hey, will you do another show?" Most of the fans or crowd that was coming were the boys. The wrestlers were sitting in the audience, so they knew when to cheer. They knew when to boo. And these guys loved it, you know. Plus, one of the commentaries was Colt Cabana.
Yeah, that helped a lot.
Some guy that they was watching for years was commentating them. Not all of them, but some of them was so impressed that one of the bookers was Mad Man Pondo. You know, it just worked for these guys. These guys loved every minute of it. And I'll give you this. So I'll give you this backstage story that I know you guys will love. So,
oh yes, this is what I'm here for.
We took it to West Virginia, and me and Jake got the great idea to put Freight Train versus Little Donnie, the two biggest baby faces of $5 wrestling. Well, Jake was downstairs filming. So Freight Train and Little Donnie both come over to me and said, and Little Donnie was doing the talking. He's like, "Pondo, me and Freight Train, we're both good guys here, and we don't know what it is you want us to do." And I told him, I said, "Well, definitely before the match, shake hands." Little Donnie turned immediately to Freight Train and said, "Good luck, Freight Train." Freight Train said, "Yeah, you too." And then they started staring at me again. I said, "Guys, in the ring." Not back here, in the ring. So if that tells you how much fun the locker room was, not just the matches, the locker room, sitting back there watching these guys go over their matches was just magical.
That just reminded me of a story that I think, this is literally just, this popped in my head. I just remembered this. I think you told, either I heard it secondhand or you told me directly. It was when we were on that show all those years ago, of the Little Donnie wanting to get booked in, I believe it was Australia.
I'll help you. So,
okay.
So this company in Australia, they knew that me and Jake was running $5 wrestling. They get a hold of me via I don't know. It might have been AOL at the time. I don't know.
Yeah.
But they say, "Hey, Pondo, we really want to bring Freight Train to Australia. Do you know if he has a passport?" And I said, "No, but I will give him a call and I'll find that out." And they said, "Well, we don't know about what would happen on his flight to Australia. Would you like to come to Australia with him?" And babysitting a 6'6" huge black man is not on my list of things to do. So I was like, "Well, no, but I will give you the contact of Jake Manning. He will probably come with him."
Yeah.
So I called Freight Train to find out if he had his passport. And of course he didn't, and he didn't know how to get it. And I said, "Okay, well, I will get with Jake and see if he will help you do this." So one of the Charlestown, Indiana shows, it was the Burke County Boys versus me and Little Donnie. Pork Chop Cash and Big Donnie, his brother, versus me and Little Donnie. And oh my God, they beat the living shit out of Little Donnie. And I was afraid they was going to do that to me, but no, all mine was this. But Little Donnie, oh my God, they was tearing it apart. So anyway, we're going over our match. And if you know anything about special wrestlers, they want other special wrestlers to know special things that they're doing. Yeah. So we're going over our match, and legit, Freight Train comes over and he puts his fist down on the table in the middle of all four of us. And he says, Pondo, when you want me to go to Australia, I figured out how to get my passport. And I said, well, okay, Freight Train, we'll talk about it here in a minute. We're going over our match right now. Just, go over there. I'll talk to you here in a minute. So we get done going over our match, and little Donnie comes over to me and says, Pondo, is Freight Train going to Australia? And I said, yeah. And he said, is that because of $5 wrestling? I said, yeah. And he said, you think they'd bring two of us? And I said, well, little Donnie, I think all they got right now is just enough for one plane ticket to Australia. So little Donnie just sat there and he thought a minute and he goes, well, I'll drive. So little Donnie's geographical map is Indiana, Illinois, Australia.
Yeah.
So I tell that story, but you just got to realize them guys all loved $5 wrestling. They all loved being there. Jake stopped doing it because so many wrestlers would hate on him and even stop booking him because of $5 wrestling. I didn't care, I was
knew what it was.
Yeah, everybody does, but you know.
And there's a big difference between what I label as quote unquote shindy wrestling and what those guys were doing, because like these were not Carney brothers. These were just guys that, like you said, it was their WrestleMania. And they're maybe 40, 50 milers at best. They just want to wrestle, man. They're not out there hurting anyone. And Jake wasn't taking advantage of them in any way, at least from an outsider looking,
Raider Rock just had me come to his table at WrestleCade and sit with him. So I know I'm still in the hearts of them guys.
Yeah.
I just don't want to bring a van load to you're not the only one. I get it all the time. Hey, when you bring them back $5 wrestling. So you never know. Maybe sometime in the future. Hell, I'm 56 now and doing stupid shit to my body still. So who knows? I might start $5 wrestling up just to stay in the business.
Fuck, that would be so cool. So the one question I have about $5 wrestling is I don't remember what show it was. And I've always wondered if it was a work or if it was a shoot, because Colt did not seem happy about it. So
I already know what you're talking about. Are you talking about
Cliff and Big Donnie?
Yeah.
Okay.
Total shoot. Cliff.
I knew it.
So Cliff thought, I'm going to show off. And I love Cliff. Don't get me wrong.
Yeah.
But Cliff took it upon himself to be like, I'm going to show off in front of everybody and give little Donnie a slap on the face. But little Donnie wasn't having it.
Yeah.
He slapped little Donnie. Little Donnie's like, pal. And they went at it.
Yeah. And then there was if you really know what you're looking at, whenever he went into the match with Big Donnie, he gets thrown into the wall and then all of a sudden he gigged and it's just like, Cliff, what are you doing, man? And then you could hear Colt Cabana on commentary was like, brother, why are you doing this right now? And it's just, that's the shit that's so funny though, man. I love it. Speaking of gigging, this is a weird segue, but it's one of my favorite moments. So Michael Madrox and I here, we do commentary, and we actually surprise a lot of people when we tell them what our biggest influences are when we do commentary. It's those early JCW tapes.
Okay.
It's those early JCW tapes. And one of my favorite moments, I believe it was you and Rude Boy, maybe. I don't remember, but the camera's right in front of you and you just gig right in front of the camera. And Jay on commentary goes, there's Pondo gigging in front of the fucking camera. It's just stuff like that. But talk about those early JCW days, man. Did you think that they were crazy when they started it?
They were what they needed to be.
Mm-hmm.
OCP is a different demographic. And JCW was a very different demographic from any wrestling that I had been on.
Yeah.
You know, you would see, I mean, I wrestled Vanilla Ice. Where would you see that anywhere else?
Fat Fuck Barrel Boy.
Fat Fuck Barrel Boy. You know, there was just a whole, and so it was psychopathic, thought up characters wrestling main characters. Like Evil Dead took on King Kong Bundy, and King Kong Bundy punched Jump Steady in the eye so hard that I was surprised he didn't go down. You had
Which Evil Dead is not Violent J's brother in a cheap rubber mask. We need to get that out there. Keep kayfabe alive.
Speculation.
Speculation.
There was American Kickboxer taking on the Iron Sheik in a crack pipe on a pole match.
Yeah.
You know, just JCW was essentially. I'm sorry.
It was that shock factor.
The shock factor. That's shock factor. That's exactly what it was. ICP is a shock factor band, and JCW is a shock factor wrestling company.
Why is it that? Is it strictly because Jay and Shaggy are such fans of wrestling? But what is it about? It seems like, and this is a general statement, 9 out of 10 juggalos are fans of pro wrestling. Is it just that those worlds just cross over in that way? Or do you think that maybe they're fans just because, I mean, talking about Sabu and Mama through a coffee table and like dropping all these wrestling references, like, why do you think there's such a crossover?
I'm not sure of the reason, but I will tell you that, well, I didn't get to go to this year's, but for 24 years, I had done something in the ring for the Gathering of the Juggalos all 24 years. And crowds, they didn't know sometimes. Wrestling fans would come and they didn't know what to expect. Plus, fans who had nothing better to do would come and not know what to expect. They just knew that it had something to do with psychopathic and ICP. So they would come to the JCW shows. And to help that along, like there was always, well, not at the gatherings, but on JCW spot shows, ICP would do a concert just to help draw fans. Not anymore, but Twisted would do a concert. Boondocks, you know, I mean, they would throw in a concert just to draw fans in, and those fans would see what they saw at JCW, and then they would become JCW fans. So it was just a whole network of wheels of turning, but somehow now JCW is at its all-time high.
Yeah, I think that one of the most uncanny valley things I've ever seen, that is one of the, it's just like, pinch me, this cannot be real, is Vampiro coming out on Nitro, or it was either Thunder or Nitro, I can't remember, with the JCW championship, and then Jay and Shaggy getting on commentary on WCW television. It's the crazy shit like that it's just like, how are they pulling this off? And then you mentioned what the product has turned into now. It's almost night and day.
Back in the day, Joe used to talk about, Violent Jay used to talk about me on commentary at WCW. And of course, the other commentaries guys are like, who? And he'd be like,
to do the TNA too.
And TNA, yeah.
Well, that was a Too Tough Tony thing, but yeah, I mean, like you said, if you think about this, ICP needs to be in the Hall of Fame, because let's go over it. They've done WWE, WWF, WCW,
100%.
ECW, TNA. Did they do TNA?
Yeah. The Dark Carnival match.
Yeah. I mean, you know, just why those guys aren't even a contender for the Hall of Fame, I have no clue.
Yeah, we've had this discussion 1,000 times.
Well, we got Drew Carey in there.
Yeah, we got Drew Carey, but I mean, you know, they had more staying power in the Fed than Drew Carey did. I mean, they literally were with the oddities for 6 months or whatever it was. But no, like we've had that talk all the time. And like yeah, JCW started off, let's call it what it was. It was them just fucking around, having a laugh. Let's go, man, you know? And then what it's turned into, they've got an incredible product. And it's like why, you know, they have every right to be in the Hall of Fame, you know?
I am a total firm believer they should be in the Hall of Fame. I mean, look at their back history of pro wrestling. If nothing else, Shaggy coming off that bus on the back of his neck should put him somewhere, you know?
Yeah. Then
at least in the "Don't Try This at Home" intro.
Right.
Yeah, for sure. And like in the middle of this conversation, I think that it clicked with me. My original question that I asked about why is there such a crossover? I think it's because if you look at juggalos and you look at wrestling fans, these are two demographics that are very misunderstood. That are insanely misunderstood. It's like you're listening to those idiots with the clown makeup, or you're watching that fake shit, or it's like, and they just come together in that way. I think I answered my own question, you know, just kind of sitting here thinking about it.
I hear you.
Yeah, I think that all adds up. Well, Pondo, we're probably going to start wrapping up here on Spot Show. If you have the time, we would love to keep you around for our second show, paid show. We would love to have you on that as well, if you would like to join. But
I probably, because so my family's downstairs. I'm spending time with them. So after the second book comes out, let's get back on here and let's do this again.
Let's do it. Let's absolutely
open mic anytime, sir.
Open invitation anytime, and we're definitely going to be getting you a Wrestling Is My Side Chick shirt, man.
Again, if you want that first and second, first book now, second book later, that's Amazon.com, or you can go to visitdeadpark.com and talk to the publisher, John Cosper, about it.
Sounds awesome. But before we get off here, Madrox has got a question that he loves to ask our guests, and I'm sure you've got a really good answer for it.
All right, Pondo. What is the most embarrassing thing that's ever happened to you inside a ring?
Well, I've never shit myself. I've never pissed myself. I've never puked. The most embarrassing thing, man, I'm pretty laid back. Like, it's really hard to embarrass me. If you try to embarrass me, I try to one up that. So how about I answer that on the next question? Because who knows, something embarrassing might happen in between there, or something. But for right now, I really don't have nothing.
Hey, we'll definitely keep that in mind, man. But, well, I think at this point we can officially call you friend of the show, Mad Man Pondo. It was an absolute pleasure to have you on here, man. We will absolutely have you back on. The floor is yours, Pondo. I know that we got visitdeadpark.com for the books. You can also go to Amazon for the first book. Pondo, where can everybody else find you on social media as well?
So I sell sometimes t-shirts. I sell 8x10s, and I sell Japanese posters, both that I'll autograph. You can get a hold of me at Kevin Kennedy, Canady. If you put Pondo after that, my Facebook page should pop right up. Or Mad Man Pondo with the last O being a 0 on Instagram. I had to do that because somebody already had my name on Instagram. What's up with that shit? But anyway, if you're interested in any of that, or if you want to give me a review of the book, good or bad, so I know what to do better in part 3 or continue to do in part 3 that you liked.
Well, hey, I'm going to tell you one thing. I'm definitely going to hop off here. I'm going to order the first book, and when this second book is available, I'm going to hop right on that, man.
All right. I appreciate you guys.
Yeah, for sure. We really appreciate you. You can, of course, find me on Instagram at DWobs with a Z card shop. You can find Michael Madrox at the word 1 and the number 900-909-9900. Pondo, this was awesome. This was such a fun interview. We really look forward to having you back on in the future. I think that we've barely even scratched the surface. I feel that we just painted in some broad strokes on this one. And when we have you back on, we need to get more in the detail. You know what I mean? But all right. Well, for those of you over on the Patreon, we will be seeing you on Paid Show. But for everybody else, we will see you down the road on some form of content.